Hey, Fi fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps, and I'm joined now with my good friend, Sara Beverley Jones. Sara, it's really good to see you.
And you.
We talk on WhatsApp or phone call,
Yeah.
but we haven't actually had a video call, so it's nice to see you.
Not seen you since lockdown.
I know, it was about a week or two before about a week or two before.
Yeah, I remember I was walking around in Manchester and people started walking around with masks on, didn't they? And then we went to a bar, which was a nice quiet bar, and then obviously massively impacted the UK as well, and everywhere went into lockdown. And yourself, you were really ill, wasn't you?
Yeah, well, interesting to find out that the antibody test came back positive. So although my test was negative, it was positive the whole time. I was like, I had the coronavirus, and it was insane to think how many other people walked out of that isolation ward or just in hospitals in general and were positive all along, and they're over here believing they're not.
Yeah, I took a test myself. I chose to do the self-test, so I had to do it physically myself, and it came back not clear. So I don't know how reliable these tests are at the minute, but it's a scary prospect.
I don't know what it's like for the self-testing ones, and I don't really, it also varies where you purchase or where urgent cares and hospitals are purchasing their tests from. But I mean, at the time, and I found this out from Anthony Yard when he and I spoke about it, because he was saying that even though my test came back negative, he still believed I had it. He's like, no, you still have it. Like, I know you have it.
Yeah.
He's like, did you know at the time when you were in the hospital that the tests were about 60% faulty? And I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm over here believing that, oh, it really is just pneumonia or my asthma, and that was it. So,
and you were given the all clear to fly as well back to America. Crazy.
I know. And the thing is, now obviously we're finding out that based on the CDC and the World Health Organization, that you really can't spread it as easily as it was first thought that you could. So it makes sense because my roommate never caught it. She never had any symptoms, and Amy and I were actually in close proximity to each other. We were cooking dinner together, and this is in the earlier stages before I knew really that I was sick. I was just losing my smell and taste at the time. And remember, at that point, that wasn't a symptom yet. So people didn't know that was like, it came out like a week or two later that was one of the symptoms people were experiencing. So it's quite interesting. Like, it was sort of all developing at the time. But yeah, it's crazy to think back on it, to be like,
it's weird you just said that as well, because my mum has had a persistent cough now for 13 weeks, and she had a test on it, came back negative. But there was several months back, she told me she lost all sense of taste and smell, and she couldn't like appreciate anything she was eating. She couldn't taste it. And it's so weird that you say that now, because we're adamant that she's had it, but obviously, and that's why she still has a persistent cough now, maybe, but obviously her test came back negative. So
I think the misperception that people have is that you have to be like deathly ill to have it, and that's not the case. Now, when I look back on my experience on it, it was hell, but that's because I have asthma. I've always experienced asthma my whole life. So for people such as myself, I guess I fell under that category of, the people with underlying issues. So I best describe it as a really bad cold. I just had like really heavy pressure in my face, massive headaches, smell and taste loss. I had the pain in my lungs, so my back was hurting on both sides, like right here.
But you rang me. Do you remember you rang me when you had it, and I could hear it in your voice. Like, your voice box was gone completely, and I could hear it in your voice, like how ill you actually was.
I know. And then that's why when the doctor said the test was negative, I was like, whoa, there's no way, because I've never lost my taste and smell the way that I did during this coronavirus. Because you know, when you get sick, sometimes you do lose your taste buds or whatever, but this was next level. Like, Sarah, I didn't get my taste and smell back for nearly 8 weeks. And even today, I still cannot taste and smell things the way I once did. Still to this day. And it's been what, 10 weeks ish?
Jesus. Well, it's either COVID or all them chilies you eat.
Normally when I go without eating habaneros, when I come back to California and I eat habaneros, I can usually taste them because I haven't had them in a while, right? Yeah. So it is, they do burn. But when I came back and I'm sitting there eating with my parents, I'm literally eating a habanero like candy. And I didn't taste it. Crazy. I could not taste the habanero. And that's how bad it was. I just could not taste anything. Yeah. And it was just, it's just unenjoyable. Like, a food tasted like crap. I wasn't hungry. I mean, I was hungry, but I wasn't getting the satisfaction from what I was eating. It was just a whole bunch of stuff. But my belief is more people have had it than not. I really do believe that. And
I'm adamant that I was really ill in December, really, really ill. And I mean, I've not had a cold or the flu since last year because I do take a supplement that helps me, like, you know, helps my white blood cells sort of fight off any infections and stuff. So I've not been ill whatsoever. And I got really, really ill in December. And I mean, I could not get out of bed. I was just sleeping all the time. A cough that just would not go away. I didn't have any cold or flu symptoms, so it wasn't my nose. It was just mainly a cough. And honest God, it's like it knocked me off my feet. And I was adamant that there was something more to it. And then obviously all this happened and it came out. But do
you guys have?
We just don't know. We just don't know how long it's been around, do we? Really? So.
Do you guys have antibody testing there at the moment?
We do, but I don't think they're easily accessed as, say, in America. So, we do have them, but I don't think we can get hold of them as easily. It's the same with the testing as well. Obviously, you've got to be a key worker or you a family member, or a family member of a key worker to get the testing. Only if you've got symptoms and they really want you testing can you then go and get a test. And you have to queue up. It's like a parking lot, and you queue up. And yes, obviously, it might be the same in America. And you have different windows you have to drive to, and then you ring them up. You can't even wind your window down. You've got to speak to them on the phone. So they hold up a number. You have to ring the number, speak to them, and they're directly outside the car.
Oh my God.
Yeah, really strict regulations.
I've heard that things really still haven't opened up there.
No. Oh God, no. I don't think we will for a while. There's a lot of different information. A lot of people believe, obviously, we should have gone into lockdown a lot sooner than we did because the numbers were increasing, and that's because no one really took it that serious. When we did go into lockdown, there's a lot of people that didn't pay attention, breaking the rules. So we introduced fines for them people breaking the rules, but again, that didn't come into play as quickly. So people got away with it, and then by the time we did introduce them fines, they've semi-lifted the lockdown. So we are allowed 6 people round from another household. You are allowed to be in proximity of 6 other people. So you can work out in a gym or a park, a park instead of a gym. So as a gym class, you can have family and friends, no more than 6 in your back garden. So that's where we are up to right now. For
people who don't have a garden.
A park. You are allowed to go to a park now and sit with someone who's not from your household.
Is there people monitoring that?
Well, this is it. So, so the police were supposed to be monitoring it, but obviously, I think their powers were limited until the fines came into play. But now we've got the fines. You don't know who's actually breaking rules and who isn't. And you're seeing now, obviously, you're not really allowed alcohol on the street. And a lot of people are. So pubs and bars and restaurants to obviously earn some sort of money themselves are doing drinks to take away. So people are going to these pubs or bars, paying for drinks and then walking away with them. But you're not really allowed to do that because you're not allowed to drink on the street. So there's a lot of rules being broken. And I think the police and the government are aware of it, but there's just nothing that they will do right now because there's obviously much bigger problems going on. There's a lot more bikes on the road, I'll say that.
Yeah.
So many people are on bikes now. It's like their mean of transport. And I think it will continue, if I'm honest, as well.
Yeah. Wow, it's very, very different than over here. Very different. We basically opened back up pretty much.
Oh, really?
Opened yesterday, so I have an appointment today. You have to make appointments though, so they're only doing limited capacity, which is why they only have so many available appointments every hour,
Okay.
or every so many hours. And I think like after, from my understanding, after you there was like one phase of people coming in, they go and they clean the stuff down, and then they bring another phase in. So I'm like, that's really a lot of work for the gyms, especially for not being able to open at full capacity.
Well, yeah, sorry, gyms are going to be one of the last places to open here, which I find a bit strange, and salons. So salons and clinics and gyms have not been given the go-ahead to open just yet. They were told provisionally around July the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
There has been some news that some speculation that some places might be able to open this coming week, but who knows right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my hair, I can't wait to get my hair done and my nails. Embracing the old natural look right now.
Yeah, well, you know what, it's funny because I made a post. I'm not sure if you saw it, but I was like, it sure seems like the politicians haven't been social distancing from their hair appointments, because they always looking all nice and shaved up or nice hairdos. But it hopefully in due time. I know, like I said, it varies. Like I'm in this, like the Riverside County, San Diego County area. Our rules are different than that of Los Angeles. Los Angeles is on massive lockdown. Like, so here we barely got our salons to open. They just have to check like your temperature, which I find to be a bit strange because not everyone who has a fever has the virus.
Oh, no.
But again, whatever gets us to open again, I don't care. I'm just happy. Like I went to the mall with my mom yesterday, and it felt so good to see people walking around, and most people they don't care about wearing masks.
Yeah.
It's mandated where we're at. So it was nice to feel like things were kind of normal, even though we know it's not normal. And
I think people in their behaviour towards it is a bit more relaxed now as well, I'll say, especially when I go to a supermarket. So we'll still have distancing where you have to queue outside, obviously 2 meters apart. But once you're inside the supermarket, everyone's just all over the place. Everyone's right next to each other, and no one's really bothering or caring anymore once they're inside. So I feel like people's attitudes to it is a bit more relaxed now as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's going to come with time, especially when it's
yeah.
You don't really know what to expect, so everyone's just kind of expecting worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Now here we are, I don't know what it's like there in the UK, but numbers have been changing drastically here.
Increasing or decreasing?
Well, they're increasing in the sense that a lot of people are testing positive, but the more people that test positive, it actually lowers the death rate, because it just shows that the majority of people, it doesn't affect them. It's just underlying issues. People with underlying issues are the ones who are most affected. So
yeah.
But I always say, like, it's not a bad thing that people are testing positive per se. It's because it just means that the death rate goes down, and so the more people that test, the ratio of deaths actually declines. So at the time, the reason why the death toll was so high was because the only people that were being tested were the people who were being hospitalized. So it seemed like, whoa, you know, like everyone's in the hospital, and that's what our perception was based on what we've seen on TV and what we were being told. And you know, I get it. Like when you don't know anything, you kind of want to take every precaution before you. It's better to be safe than sorry, I guess you'd say. So, in that case, like, you know, obviously we're now sort of moving in the direction of reopening with boxing, which has been exciting. Top Rank out here has hosted a couple of shows already in Las Vegas, obviously behind closed doors, without a crowd. I hope to see us move in the direction, probably fall. I think right now it's sort of like a test trial, but we did see ring card girls there.
Sure, I didn't know that. Yeah,
I know that they were present, like, so they were standing there, they were present. So based on what we know of what the BBBFC has released, ring card girls are not included in that return, just like media isn't included in that return initially. How has all of this sort of affected you, your business, and the girls who were dependent on this for a living? Like this was their full-time job.
Obviously we're always gonna, I feel like we're always gonna be the last in the pecking order. We really are. And I understand that, oh God, there's so many boxers out there that have missed their fights, their upcoming fights, their training, and they're missing out on financially on the living and keeping active. You know, it has affected a lot of people. So I understand that people might not be thinking necessarily about the ring card girls because they're probably the last in the pecking order, but it does affect them just as much as it affects, you know, other people like the officials. And yeah, a lot of girls do this for different reasons. You know, some girls are full-time models, so they do this as well as modeling. Them ones have probably been impacted the worst because everything has been cancelled, every form of work. So they have literally had no income whatsoever. A lot of models and a lot of ring girls have had to go and claim SSP, which is sick pay, basically. Over here, which we are allowed to do, but it isn't much at all. It is not much at all. There's the other aspects. Some girls do this as a sideline to pay for their education and further studies. I do have some girls that actually do, you know, are medical as well. So some are nurses and some are paramedics, and then the model and ring girl as well, which you wouldn't even assume, but that's what they do. So they've been very active during this pandemic because they are key workers. But doing this as a sideline is also kind of a release for them, as well as an extra income. Yeah, the girls are really upset, if I'm honest. With Matchroom alone, obviously we work for several different brands, but with Matchroom alone, I think it was about 7 different events that has been cancelled since March. Now that is a lot to them, and a lot of it, and we were gearing up as well for this being a massive year for British boxing. We were so excited. Like we heard there's so many fights announced this year, and we were so excited. And was like, yes, like British boxing is going to be back, bigger than ever. There was so much excitement, not just around the heavyweight division, but you know, so many other events. And I think it hit them because obviously it's the income, it's the money, but they enjoy this as well. It's so much fun, and obviously we get to pay. Well, not me necessarily anymore, but them. They get paid to do what they love and sit ringside and watch these events, and they grow with the fighters as well, and they see the fighters' careers progress. And so yeah, it's been a little bit upsetting for them. For me, because my business is based solely around like public events, I would say. So not just sports, but we work in different aspects. So we work in motorsports, work with trade shows, conferences. Everything is public. We work in the public sector. So every single job that we had got cancelled from March onwards. It was end of March. with like no resolve, no dates in mind. Obviously we can't plan anything. It was just, this is postponed until further notice. And some events was like, this is completely cancelled this year. Wow. So my busiest periods are April, May and June, and I've had a substantial amount of work cancelled in this time. Yeah, so at the minute it's just a waiting game, just seeing what's going to happen. I understand from the BBFC perspective and the rules and regulations that are in place, and I know they have to be in place for a reason. I think it's something like 90 people maximum are there, so you have to really pick the right people to be there. Obviously, I think it's 5 fights maximum as well, and there's strict regulations in place for everyone who is there with PPE, etc. So I do understand they're in place for a reason. I'm happy that boxing is making some sort of comeback. I really am.
Me too.
But as far as we're aware, there's no date, there's nothing out there to say when public events will be allowed, when arena events will be allowed. I think as well, because a lot of people see the ring girls there for the audience. Obviously, it's a bit of a tradition with boxing, and I think in the UK we don't get as much TV coverage as probably the American ring girls do, but that's more to do with the network than the actual boxing company. So I would say the ring girls are probably there for the audience, for the live audience more than anything, and if there's not a live audience there, then there's no reason for the ring girls to be there either.
I know that in recent months, or maybe within the last 12 to 18 months, I've noticed that there's been this sort of shift with people feeling as though boxing should, or combat sports should no longer have ring card girls or ring girls, or what would be the other way? What do you call them when they're are they called grid girls?
Grid girls, yeah.
Like grid girls. So what are your thoughts on all of that? Like, people sort of have this heavy opinion that the girls should just go all together.
You know, I did there's a show over here called Good Morning Britain. I actually went on that, obviously having this debate. It's draining when people say it's because there's no harm done. We enjoy what we do, we love what we do. Why can't we love sport as well? Obviously, I'm a massive boxing fan, just like you. Obviously, it was my dream job doing that, sitting ringside and getting to know these fighters on their journey, not just the fighters, but the family and friends. Honestly, honestly, God, I drained when I answer this question, because there's literally no harm done, and where we live in a democracy where we're supposed to choose what we want to do with life, and if that's what we want to do, if that's how we feel confident in that role, then leave them be. I wouldn't dare tell anyone else what to do with their lives, how to conduct themselves. You know, I would never tell a female she doesn't have a right, or she doesn't belong in a certain network. It's just, honestly, it's just ironic to me. I just find it really draining, them people. And you find that it's some women, it is actually a minority that do it. Men are very supportive. Obviously, people might think, oh yeah, I bet they are, but no, they actually are really supportive, and they're really nice. And every boxing event that I've been to, you know, we get compliments, they just ask for pictures, they're really polite, and you actually get into a conversation about boxing and about sports with these people, and they appreciate it. And there's women that attend boxing. I'll say the majority is male orientated, but women do enjoy the boxing. They do attend.
Look, I'm a woman and I'm not offended.
Yeah,
So
but the women come up to us at these boxing events and they pay us compliments, and they're like, "Oh, I love what you do. I love how you get in that ring." And another thing I need to point out is all my ring girls wear dresses. I like my ring girls to look respectable. You know, give off the right image. I want it to be comfortable as well. So I always make sure my ring girls wear nice dresses when they get in and out that ring. And yeah, they just get so many compliments. And it really is a minority online that has anything negative to say.
Mm-hmm. I know. I remember when it was sort of like this trending topic to sort of debate whether or not, you know, the girls should go. And I'm like, I don't get it. As a woman in sports, I don't see the issue.
Yeah.
I was actually really kind of confused by it. I was like, why would we take away something that has been a part of sports for so long? Like, why? Because now suddenly people want to be offended by it. I can't understand it, relate to it. I thought it was absolutely silly to have the conversation about, you know, removing grid girls, ring card girls, octagon girls, whatever, you know, whatever they're all called. I don't know the terminology for everybody, but basically, these models, I didn't see the issue at all.
Well, I think with the grid girls as well, obviously, I think that went. Did that go first? Was it the grid girls? So I think they removed grid girls from Formula One in Monaco and maybe Russia. I can't remember. But what happened is, after a very short period, they got reintroduced again. And over here, we have British Superbikes, we have British GT, touring cars. Every single motorsport kept their grid girls, and will continue to do so. In fact, that's one of the first companies I've heard back from, British GT, and they've rescheduled their racing events for August, and as it stands, they are having grid girls.
Mm-hmm. Joshua versus Fury.
Oh god.
Has officially been announced for 2021. Now we don't know the details. I don't think a contract was actually in place. I think it was just an agreement in place, because obviously Joshua still needs to fight Pulev, and Tyson still needs to have the third fight with Deontay Wilder. So anything can change, okay?
Yeah, I know.
I'm curious to know what's in that agreement. Should one of them not win their next fights, like, are we still getting?
It'd be such a shame if either one of them didn't win. It would be such a shame, because
we've been disappointed already. I mean, we never got Wilder Joshua, and that one will and forever go down as one of the biggest disappointments, at least in my opinion, because it should have happened, it could have happened, and it didn't happen, and that pisses me off.
Oh, absolutely, I'm with you on that. Like, that would definitely been a fight that I would have loved to see. But I will say, from a British fan perspective, there's a lot of Brits that were probably more excited for Fury Joshua, obviously being a domestic.
Oh, no, hold on. Don't get it wrong. We over here in America, just as much. we really got excited with the news. Trust me.
I am really excited, but it's going to be such a shame if it's not on British soil.
Yep.
Just for me personally, and I know there's a lot of money involved. There's going to be bidding wars. They're going to have so many different options. But for me, as a British fan, and speaking on behalf of other fans, I just know we'd love it on British soil. I know it could probably sell Wembley out twice over. It really could. So it obviously is.
But look, when are we even going to get their next fights first? Right? So
Joshua's would have been, what date is it? Next week? Was it next week?
It was supposed to be, June 20th, wasn't it?
June, yeah. So so that would have been Joshua's fight. Well, that's it. I'm thinking if public gatherings are allowed, it's going to be end of the year at the earliest.
Okay,
at the earliest.
Here's the question: do you wait for the fight so that it could actually be in a more quote unquote normal environment where there will be a full like stadium full of people, or do you move forward with this fight with a limited attendance? Because you're, based on what you're already saying about where you're at in Britain, like things are moving quite slow due to the coronavirus and the restrictions being eased. If it came down to it, if you could have the full audience experience, full crowd experience in a different country, do you go that route, or do you continue to wait for the opportunity, which you don't know when can happen?
So which fight are you talking about?
Joshua Fury.
Joshua Fury. Well, obviously we've got to get to Joshua Pula first. So
Which
it's
I see happening behind closed doors. I can't see that.
Can you?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it would be a shame not having a crowd there and not pushing it to its full potential. Joshua Fury. Saying that, it depends where is in the pipeline to hold this fight. I know there's Vegas. There's talks that Saudi might host it.
Mm-hmm. Bahrain. I've heard Bahrain.
Oh, have you? No, I've not heard that one.
Has had Dan Kinahan, who is a part of the brokering this deal. There was talks of possibly the Middle East and Bahrain.
Interesting. I mean, are they going to go where the money is, or are they going to give the fans what they want?
It's not exactly down to just the money at this point. It's not like we aren't having a pandemic occur. So
yeah,
if that was removed, like let's say coronavirus didn't exist, we would, and then they want to make it in the Middle East, then we can blame, they're just chasing the money. But now, if we have the opportunity to host this massive event outside of Britain so that fans can attend, so fans can physically say that they were there, they took part in this historic fight, I'm not mad at them taking it out of the country if it meant making it sooner. But if we're going to sit and wait, look what's happening. Every time we're told maybe next month, the month after, things continue to change. God only knows, what's coming next. And so
we don't know what's going to happen with traveling, flying abroad. Are fans going to be able to travel and fly abroad?
Well, my understanding is anyone who leaves the country in the UK and returns has to quarantine for 2 weeks. That's apparently the travel restrictions entering the UK. But
as it stands, yeah.
But who's really going to abide by that? There's not exactly, someone overseeing whether or not you're sitting inside your house for 2 weeks from everyone. So I don't know. I'm not mad at it if they want to make it somewhere in the Middle East, if that means making it sooner and that means having a crowd.
Yeah, well, it's a 2-fight clause, isn't it? So if one of them at least is in British soil, then I think it'll make a lot of fans happy over here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just
it would be electric. It would be
it would be insane. I've worked. We've both been to Wembley, haven't we? When the fights have been on, and yeah, I've worked at Wembley, and it was unbelievable. Like I've never felt anything like it. Even when it was empty, and when obviously I went in the daytime, and when it was empty, even the magnitude of that stadium is just like you're in awe when you walk in. So when it's filled and it slowly starts filling, and you see like all them lights and people filming, and it's unbelievable. Honestly, it's unbelievable. And
my first British fight was Frochgrove's 2, for crying out loud. Like
I know.
That was. It's almost like it's almost like it set me up for failure after that, because everything after that was like, nothing quite close to. Yeah.
That was the best fight I ever worked.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, by far the best fight I ever worked. And we're gonna sound right Froch now, aren't we? But unless you were there, you don't understand that it was absolutely crazy. The atmosphere, because it was people were so split as well in their decision. You had your Groves fans and you had your Froch fans, and because it was so split, and the same with Joshua Fury, it was so split, the fans, it made the atmosphere so intense. And it wasn't there wasn't no negativity, it wasn't negative, it was just people were really rooting for their fighter.
That's sort of what I'm most curious about at this point, like to see, or more so hear, who the crowd cheers for the most when both of them walk out. Because I ask so many different people all the time, like, oh, who's your favorite? And they're like, oh, Joshua, or oh, Fury. And so they're always so, and some of them are huge fans of both. So they're like,
yeah,
I don't know who I'm going to choose. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to kind of get to experience that and take that in. And again, most importantly, take part in history. That's a historic fight. I mean, you're talking about the undisputed at that point. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and it's heavyweight as well. A heavyweight fights, you know, they attract not just the absolute avid boxing fan, but they attract, you know, more casuals as well. The people that just like to tune in every now and again and see them big fights. And they all want tickets, every single one of them. There's massive money to be made on this fight, there really is. But more than ever, I think people are just excited to see it. I know I am.
Yeah, I know. Like, I feel like there should be a neutral ground, like Dubai. Yeah. it'll be like work and holiday. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'll bring your suitcase, Michelle.
Yeah, that would be fun. At least that way, you know, people can still sort of be present. And I've never been to Dubai, so do they even?
I haven't been there.
No. Do they have the drinking's allowed there, right?
Yeah, I've just felt, I think it has to be on certain property though. I don't think it's allowed, like, obviously publicly. But I think most bars and restaurants do have licenses.
Okay. Yeah. So that would be more of like a neutral ground, because like obviously going to Saudi, the crowd was really quiet. Because you know how I love you British fans, but y'all can drink.
I think it's rubbed off on you since you've been here.
I haven't had an experience where I've actually just attended. Actually, no, I take that back. There was one fight I attended as just a fan, and it was Mayweather versus Maidana. Mayweather versus Maidana. I attended that as a fan. And since then, everything has always been work. So,
I mean, I think there's a chance that it could be in Vegas as well. And I mean, we don't need an excuse to go to Vegas anyway. So, and I think after lockdown, if restrictions are lifted and people are allowed to travel, people want any excuse to get out there and make a holiday of it as well. So if it was in Vegas, not so bad for people traveling out there and wanting to make the most of it. For us, obviously having to get up at about 5 a.m. to watch it on pay-per-view over here, obviously might be a little bit more tiring, but yeah, I can see it going either way at the minute. I really don't know, but as long as one fight is in the UK, then I'll be happy personally.
Yeah, I know. I would like to see that happen as well. Because I'm not returning until I'm able to go back to work. So I'll stay in California for as long as I need to. And then if and when media can attend is when I will consider going back. So I hope that's not 2021. Let's just say that much. You know what I mean?
I'm hoping for the end of the year for public events. I really am. I do know some people that have like provisionally wrote in dates for certain things in October, November onwards, but obviously it's just a waiting game to see what happens with the government. A lot of people over here are waiting for a second wave right now, and a lot of people do feel it's going to hit quite soon, just because we've had amazing weather. We never have good weather over here, and we've had amazing weather recently, so more people are going out, more people are going to the beaches, more people are going to parks.
The CDC and World Health Organization just released saying if you're, the whole reason behind stay home, save lives was because the theory was that we could easily spread it to one another. Well, now that we know that it can't spread as easily, and they actually have said that if anyone is asymptomatic, that it's almost rare. They use the word rare, that you can actually pass it to anyone. So it really comes down to, just like the flu, you have to be in full blown like illness to pass it, like sneezing and coughing everywhere and full blown fever and the whole thing. So that's nice to know now. And hopefully the restrictions will start to, with the new information, new evidence of it not spreading on surfaces like they thought it once was, stuff like that. Like, did you hear about the study they did where they had like over 400 people, and they were exposed to someone who was asymptomatic, and 0 caught the virus, 0. So that was a really like strong study to basically prove that unless you're like, literally coughing in someone's mouth or something of that nature, it's not as easily transferable. So that's great news to now know.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have to live in fear that if you have it and you don't know you have it, you're not giving it to your grandma or kids. It's not going to happen like that. So that's good news. But so hopefully, like I said, hopefully as they learn through scientific studies, that we'll start to see the rules sort of bend a bit more with the new information. So hopefully. But it was nice talking to you, Sarah. It was good chatting. Well, I'll speak with you soon, and hopefully as news continues to develop, we'll hopefully get Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury in the UK.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
All right, I'll speak to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye, fans.
Hey Fi fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so by clicking this icon right here, or else